Hey everyone, Morgan here, and I'm so excited that we are actually going to interview Michèle Phoenix today. It's been a while since we've had an author interview, and I always enjoy them. I know you do too, so I'm really excited today to kind of get back on that. And we'll have some other guests later this year, but we're glad our first guest of 2021 could be Michèle. And we're going to talk today about her fabulous book, Fragments of Light. It is, of course, a split time novel, and it is set partially in World War II in France. I'm going to read the back cover copy, and then soon we're going to have Michèle herself come on here to answer some of our questions that you've already sent in. But also, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you comment at least once during during our chat, then you'll be entered to win a signed copy of Fragments of Light. So please don't miss out on that. Any comment, hey, I'm from here, whatever you want to say, it's fine. If you have any questions as well, we'll try to have a Q&A at the end. But let's read about Fragments of Light. Let's see. All right. Here is the back cover copy. Cancer stole everything from Celie. Her peace of mind, her self-image, perhaps even her 23-year marriage to her college sweetheart, Nate. Without the support of Darlene, her quirky elderly friend, she may not have been able to endure so much loss. So when Darlene's own prognosis turns dire, Celie can't refuse her seemingly impossible request to find a World War II paratrooper named Cal, the father who disappeared when Darlene was an infant, leaving a lifetime of desolation in his wake. The search that begins in the farmlands of Missouri eventually leads Celie to a small town in Normandy, where she uncovers the harrowing tale of the hero who dropped off target into occupied France. Alternating between Cal's D-Day rescue by two French sisters and Celie's present-day journey through trial and heartbreak, Fragments of Light explores a timeless question: when life becomes unbearable, will you surrender to the darkness or dare to press toward a lingering light? And that's just beautiful. I can't wait to talk to Michèle about it. So without further ado, I think I'm going to bring Michèle on here. Let me get her on here. All right, Michèle.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to see
How are
you.
you today?
Doing okay.
Great. Where are you right now? How's the weather there? I have
I
to
am
ask.
I'm looking out the window at about 5 feet of snow piled up on the sides of the driveway. I'm currently in Canada. I'm staying with my mom for a few weeks, escaping COVID in Chicagoland, which is where I normally live, coming to the relatively safer province of Ontario. But I'm heading home in a couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to being back in my space with my peeps. But it's been good to be here too, despite the snow. I am not a snow lover.
Sorry for the delay, guys. I had an issue with my sound, but I think I've got it back on now.
We've got about from by my
Sorry
calculations, it's
about
about a
that. I
30
think I'm
second
back on
delay.
track now. Anyway, yeah, okay, about snow. So I'm in Louisiana and we've had snow, which is, not common. So I totally understand like with snow and everything. But so I think our weather's kind of evening out now, but okay.
Do we need
So
do we need to do a tech check? I feel like there's about 30 seconds between when I'm speaking and when you're hearing me.
okay, let me see. Sorry, y'all. I have a delay. Let me see if I can get this back on
Yeah,
track. I apologize, Michelle. Give me just a moment. Thank you.
it's
It's
fine.
technology. Let me see if I can get this on track. Make sure you can hear me too. Um, any viewers out there, please let us know too if you can hear us, if it sounds good, and we will go forward. Let me find where we are. Thanks for being a trooper, Michelle.
Listen, it's the way things work.
Okay. All
Can
right.
you hear me?
I think there's going to be a little bit delay, but I think we'll be fine. We'll just pause for like a slight moment. Oh, it is. It is. Okay. So we'll just jump right into the questions. So the first question was from Jenny, and she asked, "Who is your favorite split time author?"
Yeah, the surprising thing is that I don't read a whole lot of split time. I like to write it, but actually, to be totally honest, I don't read a whole lot at all because this is my side hustle. I've got a full-time job in ministry that doesn't leave me a whole lot of leisure to write. However, um, the the male author in the secular world that made me want to begin writing and that I go back to every time I want to start writing a new book is Pat Conroy. He's a Southern
Mhm.
writer. His beach music is multiple split time. I mean, there's so many eras that he
Wow.
covers in that. And he is absolutely, hands down, my favorite author who's no longer with us. In the Christian fiction realm, I love Christy Cambron. I love all of her stuff. And the one that I haven't read yet that is at the top of my pile because of the cover photo on it, I love the picture of, I'm looking at it, A House on Foster Hill by Jamie Jo Wright. I
Oh,
cannot wait to dive into that. I used to live in France. I used to go traipsing through abandoned mansions, and I'm pretty sure that I've seen the mansion where that picture of that piano on the cover was taken. So that's up next on my docket.
I love that. I love Jamie's books. I've read all of them so far, so you're gonna enjoy it. I mean, just a
Good.
treat. And it's so interesting how she brings in Gothic literature with Christian light and faith, and that
Yes.
she always hits it out of the park. And it's just such an
Yes.
interesting combination. But that's awesome. And oh, I forgot to ask you, would you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about you? Just your little snippet of your bio, I
My
guess would say.
snippet.
Yeah,
Yeah. This actually informs a lot of what I write, actually, and what I write about. I have three passports. My dad was Canadian, my mom is
Wow.
American, and I was born and raised in France. So I spent most of my life in France up to age 14. At 14, I went to a boarding school for missionaries' kids in Germany,
Wow.
um, and spent 4 years there. Wheaton College for college, then back to Germany to the same school, and I taught there for 20 years. So 20 of my adult years were overseas, as well as all of my years up to age 18. And then 10 years ago, I moved back to the States, and I now live in Chicagoland, outside Chicago, still with the same kind of ministry going on, focused on missionaries' kids and missionary families, and trying to educate the world on this very unique people group with incredible strengths and a lot of challenges that we haven't been very good at talking about or addressing. So that's what I do.
Well, that's fantastic. Wow. You've grown up around the world. That's
Indeed.
incredible.
Yes.
Indeed. Well, how many languages do you speak? I have to ask that.
I'm fluent in English and French. I actually used to speak English with a French accent when I was
Wow.
little. And then I'd come home for 2 or 3 months and go back to France with an American accent when I was speaking French. And I get along in German. I can buy cars. I can talk about the weather. I can go grocery shopping and order at restaurants.
That's amazing. Wow, yeah, that's really awesome. And I'm sure it was interesting and cute for your relatives to hear you speaking English with a French accent when you were little.
This shy little Frenchy girl who can speak English correctly. Yes, there are still words that I learned in English from reading when I was little. I would read English books and that I still mispronounce because I was trying to decide in my own mind how you pronounce things like ruthless. It was roughless. I still say ruthless.
I
So
I
ruthless, I
can
mean.
I can only imagine. I studied Spanish in school, which in Louisiana you think would be French, but we in northern Louisiana where I am, we study Spanish. And so then in college took a French class and it
Yes,
messed me up because the words and the words look very similar,
they
are
do.
almost identical, but the pronunciation is like
It's subtle.
miles apart. And I was just like, so I can only imagine. But that's so interesting. So we'll move on to our next question.
Sure.
Taylor asked, "What inspired you to
Mm.
write this book?"
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
It is. Uh, Part of it is what I just said. Part of it is the fact that I spent most of my life in France and Germany, two of the countries that are really pivotal around the World War II era of our history. I grew up in a small town just north of Paris called La Morlaix, and this town is actually featured in my second novel, I think, with Tyndale, Tangled Ashes. And I went, as a little girl, I went to school in a Red Cross rehab center for children who had
Wow.
physical problems that was housed in a manor. And I found out I just wanted to write a book when I did Tangled Ashes about the castle. My parents taught in a castle. I went to school in a manor. I know, don't hate me.
Oh,
Um,
wow. That's a
but I wanted
novel. That's a
it,
novel right there,
and it
Michelle.
did become one because as I started to research the castle that my parents taught in, that I grew up in, I discovered that there was a World War II history to that little village that nobody knew about, and that the Germans had
Wow.
implanted what they called a spring of life. It's essentially a baby factory in the village where I grew up, and the baby
Okay.
factory was housed in the manor where I was going to
So
school
this
as
is
a
like
child.
Lebensborn
It's a
program?
Lebensborn,
Lebensborn.
exactly. So I grew up with kind of
Wow.
steeped in history. Then I moved to Germany, steeped in the other side of this World War II piece, and I knew I wanted to write about World War II. The piece of the novel that came fastest, though, was the current day contemporary thread, in which a cancer survivor tries to find her way back to herself and back to those who love her in the aftermath of going through surgeries and treatment. And the reason that was so easy to access is that I am a three-time cancer survivor,
Wow.
breast cancer twice, and then I have this great pirate scar on this cheek that goes all the way down the cheek that little boys love if you tell them you used to be a pirate. um, and I wanted to write. We've gotten so good at talking about breast cancer, just in society now. It used to be kind of hush hush. Anything with the B
Mhm.
word in it, we didn't talk about. But we still don't talk about the effect of surviving cancer and going through the treatments for cancer, the effect it has not only on the sufferer, but on those who walk through it with her. And I really wanted to explore that part. What is it like for, in this case, her husband, who stuck
Mhm.
with her heroically from her diagnosis on and then had a break? He just couldn't take one more thing. And what does that look like and where does it come from?
Yeah, and then that was so just grabbed you right away with the book was just
Mm,
that you just felt so much for Celie right away. And then you were like hating on Nate and everything, but then you had to like Celie come around and see
yeah,
things a little
yeah,
differently. Now without spoilers.
yeah,
It's very highly emotional, but it can't not be emotional when you're dealing with breast cancer survivor,
yeah,
World War II survivors, people that have been through things that push your body, your mind,
yeah.
your emotions to the limit.
Yeah. And I love Nate. And it was so hard to write the Nate from the beginning of the book because I know, as the person writing him, I know what his heart is. We just had to dig through a whole lot of scar tissue to find his heart.
Oh wow. And then it's hard to well we always say kill our darlings as writers, but even
Yeah.
put them through, pain or put them through suffering or also show them in a negative light.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We do have our favorites.
So if people are starting the book, read on.
Yes,
Don't
keep
get disgusted
going.
by Nate.
Well, they're going to be more on Celie's side than ever. So just keep
It's
cheering
true.
for Celie and following her as she goes through the journey of Fragments of Light.
Yeah.
You won't regret it, everybody. It's fantastic. I've been singing its praises for months now.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so our next question, this is kind of in our novels section, so that
Mhm.
the questions are all about reading. Cindy asked, "What was your favorite book or series when you were a child?"
I mean, I Nancy Drew. Does that count? and
Definitely
and
counts.
they were hand-me-downs. I mean, I was born in 68. So Nancy Drew was I was a little bit after that, the heyday of Nancy Drew. But I was on the mission field and books in English were limited and I read whatever was in the children's library in the castle where my parents taught. So Nancy Drew was up there. My favorite book as a child was Are You My Mother? It's a children's.
Oh,
Do you know
I
that?
did hear that book. Yes.
I love that book, and the little melodramatic, melancholic child that I was just loved it.
I love that. Yeah, it's fun. I have a toddler, and so it's fun to see with my nieces and nephews as well. It's fun to see, these books that you love, classic books and things from the eyes of a child and your eyes as an adult.
Yes,
So it just
yes,
brings it to a whole new light.
yeah.
Okay, so now back to your book
Mhm.
specifically, your books overall. The question is, should we read any of your books in a particular order? Obviously, they were
Mm.
released in a certain order. Or is there one you'd recommend we start with if you're a new author to us? What do you think?
Well, my publisher would like me to say start with the latest one. I think that's what they would recommend. They're all standalone books. None of them follow each other, and they're very different in nature. The last two I wrote, so The Space Between Words and Fragments of Light, are both historical time split novels. So the last one is World War II. Uh, the Space Between Words is Huguenot history in France. The almost exterminated people group in France in the 16th
Wow.
and 17th century.
Mhm.
Previous to that, it's time slip. It's called Of Stillness and Storm, but it's really time slip within one woman's life. She just keeps going
Mhm.
back and forth between the present and the past. And if you know missionaries, if you know people in ministry and wonder how things can go off track, it seems so easily for some people. This is kind of a cautionary tale book. Elizabeth Musser, who's also an author, said that it's the Poisonwood Bible for a new generation. So,
Oh, wow.
not always an easy read. There's a
Mhm.
lot of humor in it. I try to balance, the depth of emotion with humor in my books. But if you just want to see kind of the post mortem of a family that makes the wrong choices and then the ripple effect of that, it would be that one. And then the true books previous to that, Tangled Ashes is World War II time split. And In Broken Places is time split, but in the same sense as Of Stillness and Storm, where it's within the same life that you see the childhood that led to the adulthood you're following.
I like that. I like being able to see when the character is alive in the present day as well in the past. And
Yeah.
Susan Meisner did that with The Last Year of the War, that type of thing
Yes.
where it has where you have the older version of the woman and the younger.
Yep.
So I just think that's interesting spin. And also I was gonna talk about for a second about Darlene and Celi's special relationship in
Mm.
Fragments of Light. It was just such a touching but hard but raw relationship, but it was so
Hmm.
honest and real. And Darlene's sense of humor was at
Yeah.
times, Celia was just like, just
Yep.
stop,
Yeah.
but it was really real. And it was that sense of humor where it gave some lightness, but it also was covering up, I feel, just the pain and the
Yes.
uncertainty,
Yeah.
of being of having that prognosis.
And it's an unusual relationship in that Darlene is in her 70s and Celia is right around 40. They meet because of breast cancer, and Darlene is actually the reason that we then go back in time, back to World War II, because of a connection to her father in the story. But I didn't know that Darlene was going to be in the book, but I needed her to be. And I was writing the first real chapter after the prologue, where Celia wakes up after surgery in the hospital. And I'm just describing the room and the context. And the next thing I know, in my mind, the door opens and in waltzes this 75-year-old lady with pink hair and kind of, a shiny workout outfit on. And I thought, well, there she is. I guess she's in the book now. And I just love her. My favorite line from her in the book is, "A good man is as rare as rocking horse poo."
Yes.
I love her.
She had quite some one-liners in the book and quips. Like you never knew
Yeah,
what she was gonna say, and she felt like someone that we all know. There's at least one person we
right.
all know who's older, and then they just say whatever they is on their mind. And so I really like that.
Or somebody
Or,
we all want to be when we
or
get to
yeah,
that age.
the freedom,
Yes.
the freedom to
Yes.
just say whatever. So not only do I feel like Darlene was a bit of that before her diagnosis, before she,
Yeah.
was became in her 70s, but after like in her 70s, I feel like it was just like
Mhm.
totally let
That's
go.
right. I'm going to drive my PT Cruiser until it dies. I'm going to dye my hair purple if I want to. I'm going to
I
have
love
garden
that.
gnomes all over my house. Yep, she just didn't care anymore.
It was fun, and I think too at the place where Celie was, especially with the Nate
Hmm.
situation, she needed
Yes.
just that breath of fresh air,
Yep.
unexpected,
Yep.
hard loving but raw truth person in her
Yep.
life.
Yep. And loyal. She's not
Yes,
going anywhere, whatever
she was
happens.
she was
Yeah.
very loyal
Yeah.
and just throughout the whole story and just was her backbone, when she didn't
Yeah.
feel like she had one. We're not
Yeah.
giving spoilers.
We're
This
not.
is
We're
you
being
read the back
careful.
cover copy like I read it, there's hints of all these things, but
Yes.
and then it was neat too because under all of that, there was still this pain from Darlene's past with her father's abandonment and
Hmm.
the mystery behind that. And that was,
Yeah.
of course, what drew in the past part of the story was just
Yeah.
about what really happened to Cal. Was he
Yeah.
really just this deadbeat dad that couldn't take
Yeah.
things, or was there more to the story?
Yeah.
And all that part, without giving things away, obviously, it was just so refreshing and different to see. It's everyone's not how they seem, and every
Yeah.
situation and story is
Yeah.
not how it's not always the full truth. We may not even
Right.
know the full truth. So it's just
Right.
interesting to read that, and it made me think of like, who in my past or who do I know that may only be may only have one side of themselves they're showing.
Yeah.
and they
And
have all the
honestly,
pain or yeah.
that's the way we view veterans in general. We tend to
Mm.
view them through one grid, and that's the reason that the World War II part of this book took a while longer to come to me, because I didn't know what aspect of a veteran I wanted to really delve into until I was asked to translate for the filming of a World War II documentary in 2018, because I'm bilingual, so I could do that. And I flew over to France and I spent 2.5 weeks actually holding the hands and looking into the eyes of these World War II veterans who are all in their
Wow.
90s now, and hearing their stories. And in the middle of these kind of this jovial retelling of what they knew, you see in their eyes that something else happened, that there are other parts of the war that they still carry with them and don't talk about. And I was at the Normandy American Cemetery one day, and I kind of crouched down next to a wheelchair, and I was translating for French children who were there to interview these veterans.
Wow, that's
And it
precious.
is precious. And one of the French students, who was probably 12, 13, said, "What did you learn during the war?" And this veteran, still with a smile on his face, but you see the shadow cross over his eyes. And he said, "We learned how to die here, but nobody taught us how to live." And that was the
Wow.
impetus for Cal. Cal, who one of the questions at the end of the book, if you want to do them as a study group, is Cal a hero? And I wanted to look at the complexity of what a hero really looks like, and the complexity of what these men carried with them when they came back from the war.
Yeah, and that is such. I mean, because I'll be honest, one of the present day veterans that I'm not going to go into that you have, I was kind of irked with him a little bit.
Yes.
But at the same time, it makes you really question people's experience because
Yeah.
we have not gone through what someone else has. And
Right.
we have the right to discount that or not, or even justify it or not certain
Yeah.
behaviors, but you do have to consider all sides. And
Right.
also you have to consider the psychological damage that war, cancer, these traumas in our life,
Yeah.
how do they undo us?
Yeah.
And so that made me, think deeper, like the characters
Hmm.
and the when Celie goes to Normandy, just really, and so I think that sums it up perfectly, what you just said, like what
Hmm.
the French student asked and what the response
Yeah.
was, which just, they were prepared to fight and to die and to do what they
Yeah.
could, how do you, but they weren't taught how to take after how
Right.
to survive after with what happened and what they saw. And of course,
Yeah.
the mental health conversation
For
is
sure.
is
In
so
an
much
era
better
when
today, but
PTSD was
then,
not even a thing, right?
oh
Nobody
yeah,
knew what
PTSD.
PTSD was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's just it's heartbreaking. It's just really
Hmm.
heartbreaking,
Hmm.
and it needs to be something that, has been talked about in fiction and out of
Yeah.
fiction. So I think it's really important that you did include that aspect with the book, and it was
And
just it
Cal is good. Cal is a hero in my mind. He absolutely is. He's a broken hero who
yes.
did his best with the circumstances he was given.
Yep, and I feel like, there's obviously some parallels drawn between the present and the past with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really say, but Celie really comes to realize that there's a lot of broken
Yeah.
heroes in her life and
Yeah.
around, and just
And
because
she
they're
is one.
yes, and she is one as well. And so
Yeah.
just all that comes together at the end so beautifully. And
Mm.
you do have some closure, but you also just have
Hmm.
some understanding of greater human nature and hurts and,
Yeah.
darkness and light. And can you really say someone's good or bad just because
Yeah.
they do something that doesn't make sense or may not be
Right.
good? Or at their heart, are they still good, or not?
Right.
And I love novels like Fragments that just make you really ponder deeper, and they make you question within yourself, like
Hmm.
how am I viewed? How do I want to be viewed by the world? And
Yeah.
you know, just the questions like that.
And also, what do I want to explain while I'm still living that people won't
Yes.
have to try and figure out after I'm gone?
Yes, I that's exactly it too.
Hmm.
Um Anyway, we segued to that, but it's good because
We
this
did.
I wanted to kind of filter in throughout.
Yeah.
Okay, so our last question in the novel section is, um, do you get to help make any decisions on your book covers? Or which of your covers is your favorite and why?
I'm told some publishers don't allow a whole lot of input. I'm with Thomas Nelson, and they do.
Oh
Um,
wow.
And I wish I could show you some of the first covers that came out, because the first covers that came out for this one were very much World War II centric. It was the women in the World War II garb. Um, but if you read the book, this is a unique split time in that the split time takes place in the first half of the book in part one, and
Hmm.
part two actually goes completely contemporary, trying to figure out the end of what was
Hmm.
introduced in part one. So to put a World War II woman on the cover of this book, to me, wasn't effective, because so much of the ending of the book is actually about contemporary days. So they were really good. They worked with me well. The woman on the cover, people, friends write to me all the time to ask if it's me. It is not me. I wish I were that slim. Um, my favorite cover, I think, might be actually the previous one, The Space Between Words, which is
That's
again
beautiful.
contemporary and Huguenot. And it's
Hmm.
just got a piece of paper with a tear in it, and you see old manuscript handwriting in the middle of it. It's so
Yeah.
simple and clean. I really like that one.
That was beautiful, and I love fragments too. That was one thing
Yeah.
when I first saw the book cover that really just struck me was like because you really get that sense of split time because you
Yeah.
know she's modern day. She may wear a kind of a trench coat, but you know she's
Yep.
modern day, and then the planes in the sky you know are World War II.
That's right.
And so that unique about this cover I thought was just, and I'll put the cover back up so people can see too. But it
Okay.
was just you unmistakably a modern woman on Normandy Beach.
That's
And then
right.
you have the top, which does have that letter, has the words like the letter and
Yep.
like a torn letter, and then the planes. And it also has the light and the dark split.
Yes.
It had a split across it. So I was just like all into this cover because I
I
was like,
love it.
this is split time. There's a split here. Literally, you can see this, and that's a
Yeah,
hard balance. I always like to
it
see how
is.
publishers are going to handle split
Yeah,
time because do you play up more the historical side or the contemporary? Do
yeah,
you try to do, and then I've seen some try to do both and it didn't work as well. But this one
right.
I felt it worked and it's just
Yeah,
compelling.
it's really beautiful. I'm very pleased with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure every time you see a cover, it's exciting.
It is, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So that's a very good question. So now on to the writing.
Okay.
Patty asked, how does your writing process for a new book start? Do you plot everything out before starting?
No. Um, I look for, I'm in that state right now. I'm waiting for the nugget of the next book to present itself to me. And the nuggets are very different. For one book, it was, I saw the 3-year-old's face in my mind while I was vacuuming my apartment in Germany. This 3-year-old's face
Wow.
came into my mind, and I dropped the vacuum, always happy to drop my vacuum, um, and went straight to my bed, which is where I do all my writing, and started to just write about this little child. For another one, it was a location, the castle where I grew up. Started my research into that. For this one, it was that trip to Normandy, and again, I didn't know where it was going to go. But one day, I was translating, and we were watching probably 400 reenactors, World War II reenactors, marching across a boggy field as one of their veterans had done 75 years before. And they got to the place where he had actually landed on June 6, 1944, and stopped. And this Jeep drove up, this World War II Jeep drove up. And here was Tom Rice, World War II veteran Tom Rice from Coronado,
Wow.
California. And he stepped out of this Jeep, and I was just so drawn to him and to the fervor and the affection of these modern day men from all over Europe who come every year to Normandy around D-Day to reenact some of these big scenes. And so after that day, when I got to spend a little bit of time with him, I communicated with him online, and he became the military advisor for this book.
Wow.
His friend read all of the historical pieces to him, and he commented and said, well, no, this clip would be here, and this light would come on, before we jumped. And he, among all of these other veterans that I got to meet, he was one of those that made me think that I wanted to tell kind of his story, a complex story. And if you read the book, when my main character in World War II jumps out of the plane, he actually gets stuck on the exit
Yes,
door.
that was
Um,
scary. That was so
that happened
scary.
that happened to Tom Rice.
Tom?
So that's why that's
Wow.
in there. That's a nod to Tom Rice, who got stuck on the door and had to wedge himself off the
Well, we know
door.
it's super authentic then because it really happened to a veteran. It really
Right.
did.
Right. So for
But
for that part of the book,
that was
it
like,
was Tom. Yes.
wow.
And And for the contemporary part of the book, I was holed up in a cabin in the Ozarks, trying to start a new book, and nothing was coming. And I woke up one morning with 7-year-old Lisa's voice in my mind. This little girl speaking English with a bit of a British accent, with a French accent in there too, and that started the modern day part of this one.
That's so amazing. And well, I wanna touch on something you said. You write all
Mhm.
your books in bed.
I do.
I've never
And
heard an author say
really,
that.
in bed or at a coffee shop. Coffee
Yeah,
shops are
okay.
where I do my editing, but my
Okay.
writing, I have blackout curtains in my guest room. I mean, it's like Princess and the Pea. I have so many layers on top of the bed and then on top of me, and I just have a little tiny light that goes over my keyboard, and I'll spend hours in there and not see time go by.
I love it. So it's like your hobbit hole. Like you have
It
your little
is. It totally is. And it needs
your
to be
writing
dark. It
cave,
needs
your
to be
writing
dark.
cave.
Yes.
I love it. Well, and then you don't have to worry about sitting in an uncomfortable chair, right? You just have, you're
Yes.
like, I'm in bed,
That's right.
cool.
I
I
got
have,
my
I,
essential oils going.
yeah,
I got my cat under my legs. All is good.
well, seriously, I mean, all you need is some like coffee or something beside you, and you got everything made.
That's right.
Tea or hot tea or coffee. I love that. Yeah, I've done some writing in bed too, but that's the first time I've heard an author say like they write everything in bed, and I love it. I mean,
It's the only way you can do it.
part of the dream author life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Love it. Okay, let's move on. That sounds really fun. So, okay, Jeanette asks, how long did it take for you to write this book?
This book took longer because the World War II piece didn't come to me until later. This book probably took 6 months, 6 to 8 months. When I was self publishing, my first two novels that ended up being published by Tyndale, I was just going to self publish them. And there's such joy in writing to self publish because you don't have to think in terms of what will they think of.
Mhm.
So those two books, one took me 21 days to write a first draft, and one took
Wow.
me 28 days.
Oh my gosh. That is
I was able to write like I watch a movie, right? The characters are dictating the
so
activity to
did
me, and I
you
just
so
took
did you
dictation.
write from start to finish like in order? Nothing was out of order?
Yes, and I would put little asterisks of places where I needed to go back and look at. And I
Mhm.
was teaching full time at the time too, so I would
Oh
come home on
my.
my lunch breaks, and as soon as I was done with school and grading, I would crawl into bed in my dark room and just watch the
Oh,
movie in my head.
that it that I'm sorry, I'm just shocked. Like that is super, super, super fast to write a first draft.
It's
I mean,
not happening anymore, so you don't have to be jealous.
well, I mean, I've when people would say like when authors would when that's always usually a question, they would say like I write a first draft in 2 to 3 months. Like Jamie Jo Wright can write a novel in usually I think she said 7 to 8 weeks, 7 weeks,
Hmm,
which is really fast, but
really.
less than a month. You win so far. You win. Jamie writes really fast, she said, but yep, you beat her. So Jamie, sorry, you're off
Yay.
your throne of
What do I
fastest
get? Do I
writer.
get a prize?
Well, you get a mention anytime someone
Okay.
says how long they take Rob. Say you're not as fast as Michelle now.
I'll take it.
It's totally fine. No, but seriously, like just the fact that your brain can take all of that information and have it all pounded out in order in 21 days. Like
But see,
that's
that's the thing. It's not information. It's this weird borderline mystical thing
trance, like a
that
trance.
happens. It is because I am not thinking. It's like Darlene turning up in my book and I never planned for her. I am
Mhm.
letting the characters lead my fingers and I'm just taking dictation. It's a
I love
very
it.
strange thing.
Susanna Kearsley, she writes like that as well. And she
Mhm.
says, sometimes my characters, I want them to open this door and they
Yep.
say nope. And they want to
Yep.
open this door or they want to say something else. And she talks about that writer's trance as well.
Yep.
So I definitely understand. I've had a few moments of that in my writing, but it you'd have to be in a total trance to write a book in 21 days. So I can totally see you like zoned out in bed,
Exactly.
just writing.
Exactly. Yep.
You're probably having finger cramps. You were typing so
Oh,
fast.
for sure. Yes. And actually, and this is a little personal information, but having had breast cancer, I actually developed lymphedema in
Oh my
my one
gosh.
hand, which means that it swells a lot. So I'm typing and I've got these swollen little fingertips that I'm trying to be gentle to when I'm typing for 6 hours at a
Talk
time.
about like pain in your words, like like
Yes.
pain to get your words out. You're literally in your fingers having pain. Like,
All
wow.
through. Yeah.
So do you think so when you were writing these books super quick, I have to ask this.
Mhm.
Was this prior to cancer or after cancer? One of your cancers? Was this
Yeah. My first cancer was 2008, and then my second was 2016, and I started writing this book 2017 or 18. So
okay?
it was
It
after
was
my
it was
third
post.
cancer.
Wow. So post.
Yeah.
So during cancer and the treatments,
Yeah.
you were able to, you had to stay still a lot. Do you think being still for a long time that helped kind of train you to be able to write and focus on something and have to be still for a while? You think that had anything to do with it a little
You
bit?
know, I'm not one of those people in recovery who stays still. I'm just not. So I had, again, I feel so that there's such a need to speak of these things openly and like it's normal because it is. I had a
Yeah.
double mastectomy, and a week later, I attended my normal women's Bible study. And
Wow.
2.5 weeks later, I led worship at Christmas Eve service at my church. So I'm not one who does very well with sitting back and not engaging.
Oh
So,
yeah. No, and I think that I mean that's not only admirable, but that's amazing. That's just incredible. And so yes, okay, so you hold up in your cave and wrote books really quickly. So this one took what do you think your average time for writing is? If this book took longer because of the World War II story didn't come.
probably five 5 months, 4 or 5 months. So,
Okay.
but then comes the editing, of course. So then you send it to the publisher, and they say, in Of Stillness and Storm, they said we need 4 more chapters at the end. You left us on a
Wow.
cliffhanger. so so then that adds to
Get back to
the writing
work.
process. Yes, exactly. You thought you were done? No.
Wow. And how long have you been writing? When you really seriously wanted to write fiction, when did you start pursuing that?
I wanted to all my life. I started pursuing it in 2005 when I took a kind of a year-long sabbatical from ministry, and I suddenly had some time on my hands.
Mhm.
So 2005 is when I really started.
Awesome. Well, you've done a lot since then, definitely. I can't wait to go back and read some of your other books that I was telling you before.
Oh, yes,
I
I hope you'll
enjoyed,
like them.
yeah, so I have the word is it the words between
The
the word
space between words.
space between words.
Yes.
I was getting mixed up, but yes, I want to read that next for sure.
Oh, good.
Yay! Okay, let's see. We're gonna skip on to a few other questions since our time's looking
Mhm.
pretty good though.
Yeah.
Um, I think we'll be good. When did you know you wanted to be a writer?
As soon as I was able to formulate sentences. But bear in mind, I was a little French girl going to French schools, and the French people are known to be really fatalistic. So the first poem I wrote, I joined an adult poetry writing group when I was about 10
What?
years old.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and the first poem I wrote, bear in mind I'm French, was about a baby seal being bludgeoned to death. so,
Oh my.
so I had to develop a little bit more of an optimistic writing style from then on.
Definitely. That's quite depressing. At least from
French. Yes.
American standpoint.
If you've ever watched a French movie, you know that that's very accurate for France. Everybody dies, the house burns down, the dog runs away. It's just the way we do things.
Well, I'm glad that you bring some of that into your books, but they always end fairly well.
Yes,
So, like fragments, I'm not giving anything away, but the ending is not going to be tie up all the pretty bows.
but so
It's
much hope.
real life, but there is hope and there is some closure and there are
Yeah.
some things that you can just feel the hope. So,
And there's love. This is
yes.
probably my favorite love story that I've written of all my books. I love this love story.
Well, the love stories that go through the rockiest times, you know,
Yes.
that we're worried about the most, I feel like can be the sweetest because
Yeah,
they've had to overcome so much that you just there's points you're like, I just don't think this is gonna happen. Like
exactly.
it can't. It just
Yeah.
can't.
And honestly, as I was writing, I was thinking, how do we come back from this? How do we dig ourselves out of this? And it's beautiful the way it does. I love Nate. I love Nate.
Yep. And that's the end of the story right there.
That's right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. You're done. We're not really done, people. Don't go anywhere. So now we're on to the split time specific
Mhm.
questions. So how do you decide which well, we've already said, so I guess the question is with with Fragments of Light, did you actually how did you write that? Because you said your earlier books you wrote,
Yeah.
from beginning to end,
Yeah,
straight through, back and forth. But with the last, I guess, two books, did you do that kind of same thing, or did you? Some people will write a little bit here and there and mix them
right.
up. I think Christy Cambron writes a bunch of scenes, the ending, the middle, and then puts it all together.
Hmm.
I'm not, everybody does it differently.
Right. The way the movie plays out in my head as I'm writing is in scenes. So it's like in movies, there's a 20-minute scene and then it breaks and so I write in scenes that do actually go back and forth in time. And I always have a separate document open where I write down if I have a glimpse of something that might happen later, I quickly
Okay.
jot that down and then keep writing.
So
But it does go back.
so besides some obviously historical research
Mhm.
and stuff, are you a pantser? Are you definitely a pantser writer, you think?
A what writer?
A pantser. Do you know
I
about
don't know
pants?
what that is.
Oh, okay. Well, I will enlighten you. Hey, well, you have plotters and then you have people that write by the seat of their pants.
Oh,
Pantser. And then
gotcha.
you have the in-betweeners who are plotzers. So it's just kind of silly, but it is interesting from a
Yeah.
writer's perspective and a reader's too of how how authors write, if they plot things
Yeah.
out or not, especially with split time, which is complex.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the between. The plotzer, is that what you said?
Yeah, plotzer.
Where I start without the full arc. I usually have an idea of what the conflict is going to be that needs to be resolved by the end of the book, and then as I'm writing, I'll just and I go back sometimes to those initial files and look at the ideas I had for what would happen later, and we went nowhere near that in the way the book
Wow.
ended up. But just in case I forget these little, sparks, I write them down as I'm going.
And it's actually, I think it's a plantser. That's the kind of funny
Okay.
one. It's a pantser and a plotter, and I think it's a
Okay.
plantser. Anyway, just you're between the two, but it's kind of a funny thing. But it is interesting because you think with split time, and Melanie Dobson and I write about this in our book too. You would think that you have to be a huge plotter. You don't. You do have to have, especially historical research. You
Yep.
have to have some
Yep.
of that kind of, in your mind, maybe written down a little bit, but it doesn't have to be plotted
Yep.
out. But it is something that you have to keep up with the way it
Right.
weaves and everything, which is part of the complexity and the
Yep.
difficult part of writing this style
It's true.
for sure. So that's interesting though. Okay, let's do our next question, which I think both these kind of we answered. I'm just gonna look and see. Okay. Are there any, just another question, an
Mhm.
offshoot question. It's talking about ties between the timelines. Do you seem drawn to an object that might tie or a person, or is there any kind of physical triggers or things that you like to use that you think like when you look back at your books that you've done that you might lean toward? Obviously with Cal, it was letters, right? They
Mhm.
found letters, which I'm not giving anything away,
Yep.
and also from Darlene's memory as well. So it was a daughter telling about her
Yep.
father, which she knew, and then it was letters, and then later
It was
more
letters, but
story.
also burnt letters, right?
Oh, yes.
That had been tried that people had tried to destroy.
Attempted to get destroyed.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So that
So
that was that extra little piece of intrigue of why
yeah.
did Cal try to burn his own medals and his letters of recommendation?
Do you think so? In this story, we had a real mix of a
Yeah.
human telling the story, a person, and then we had a mix of the written as well with the
Yeah.
letters. Do you
Yeah.
tend in your other books, since I haven't read those,
Mhm.
do you do a mix of that kind of? Do you lean toward that, or do you think you do more of the like a letter object?
It depends on the book. The previous one was also a journal that's found in an antique sewing
Okay.
kit in a flea market in southern France, and that connects the
Ooh,
two stories.
love that.
Um, and I'm trying to think of what connected. Oh, in Tangled Ashes, the other World War II novel. It's actually the main character is a male in this one,
Oh,
an
wow.
architect, an American architect who comes over from Boston to renovate the castle, and he starts to see interesting little bits and pieces that turn up during the renovation process that makes him wonder what happened there.
Oh, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Oh, and that's another thing interesting. It's interesting when you're reading Split Time to see how different authors have like kind of like a little trigger or a little
Yeah,
emblem of what jumps leaps them to the past.
right.
Whether it's a person or an object, like with Heidi
Yeah.
Chevaroli, it was a tea chest, and the tea chest, an
Yes.
antique tea chest, and so it's just and I love that because I love when there's also a physical object, whether it's a letter or a ring or a tea chest, because we can relate to
Yeah.
objects like that, especially if you like reading historical fiction, you kind of
Yeah.
enjoy historical things, as in like
Right.
might enjoy genealogy or antique shopping or
Yeah.
museums. It just kind of goes with the reader. And so when I'm thinking about like a quilt or a tea
Yeah.
chest or something antique, a piece of furniture, you're thinking about, oh, my grandmother had a curio cabinet, or
Right.
my family had a quilt my great aunt made, and so it connects us even more, I think, with something physical that we can picture.
And then if you're anything like me, you go looking for these items that might just be in your head and you want to find them in real life. And I was in South Carolina a year and a half ago maybe, and I love going to old antique malls, and I found a little gnome that was carrying a brick, and if you've read the book you know
Oh,
what the brick carrying gnome is, and I had no idea that even existed anywhere in the world, and I found this little brick carrying gnome in South Carolina, so he's
I
now sitting on a
love
shelf
it.
at home.
And that's fun too, because in your travels, just not only
Yeah,
your experience growing up around the world, which we know
yeah.
of, and I'm not jealous of 4 passports at all. Not at all. But
Yes.
yeah, and then just traveling in general, the little tidbits and things, the people you meet, the conversations you might overhear, or you're in
Yeah,
in yourself, it just
yeah,
those little things, it's those are those little Easter eggs. So thanks for giving us the
yeah,
Easter egg into your story. I love
yeah.
that. All right, the last section is about research. Of
Okay.
our questions, Carol asked, "What is your method for organizing your historical research? Do you have a method?"
um as mentioned before, I want to keep writing while the writing is flowing, so I will put a little asterisk in my manuscript. If it's a description, for instance, 1944 car drives up and a general gets out of it, put that little star there,
Mhm.
and then I'll come back and write the paragraph description of what kind of car it is and all of that later. So I get the main flow out of the way, and
Mhm.
then sometimes I go all the way to the end of the book before I go back and start adding in the
Okay.
historical detail.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's really interesting. So, do you feel like before you actually start writing, you have to have a level of historical knowledge about an
yeah,
era at all, like just
yeah,
even a basic
yeah.
knowledge, working
That's
knowledge?
really important. With the
Mhm.
Huguenots, for instance, which aren't as well known as World War II, their
Mhm.
history, I did go back and watch a couple movies and read some overviews of what happened during
Mhm.
that era, just so you can get the context, almost the aura of those
Mhm.
times right, what it would have
Oh
felt
yeah.
like to be a French Protestant Huguenot during those days. And then I start writing, and then the smaller details are what I leave for later.
Yeah, like the physical details,
Yeah,
like you're saying about a
yeah.
car or about an outfit, maybe, or a
Terminology. Yeah,
uniform. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
and that makes sense because I think that is important. I really don't know how someone writing something historical,
Yeah.
obviously all split time is
Hmm.
historical, more or less.
Hmm.
Without grounding yourself in that
Yeah,
time
yeah.
period to some extent, because then your brain, like subconsciously, when you're in that trance, that writing
Right,
trance, your
right.
brain subconsciously is like bringing all those things into play as your characters go
Yeah,
move a certain direction. Because
yeah.
obviously, if you're writing about a woman in any time, past
Hmm.
now back, there are going to be so many limitations on what women
Right,
can do, depending on if you're a woman of color, if you're a
right.
single woman, if all these limitations. And so
Hmm.
knowing that, and knowing your character couldn't just bust up in a men's club or something, or if she did, it was going
Right.
to be a lot of trouble. Those kind of things, I feel, are
Well,
always going to guide the story as well. Knowing,
yeah. And I write in the first person quite a bit too. So I need to be able to
oh wow, hmm
steep, to feel
hmm
like my whole body and mind in my dark room is steeping in what it would have been like and felt like and sounded like to have been there in those days. So I
completely.
do get a good idea of the context before I start to write.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and it's understandable to have at least that working, that basic
Hmm.
knowledge. And then, but it's
Hmm.
interesting to kind of to hear, you say like you go back and put in things like that, and then it all just becomes this
Yeah.
full-bodied work.
Yeah.
That's
It's
so
amazing. It's
interesting.
miraculous. I never get to the end of the book without thinking, how did that happen?
Like,
How did we get this book
uh,
out? Yes, it really is. There's something so mystical and miraculous about it. I just love it.
and that's I feel like a lot of authors that I've interviewed have felt like that too. So
Hmm.
I think it's a commonplace thing where you feel
Yeah.
like it's an out of body almost experience
Yeah,
sometimes, or it's just you're just like,
truly.
how did that link up? My brain wasn't even going. Like you said, you went back
Yeah.
to your notes and you go, my brain didn't take me anywhere my notes were.
And
So,
there are times when you don't feel that magic. When I was you're going to hate me for this again. I was living in my aunt's apartment in France 2 years
oh,
ago when I started writing
Booker.
Fragments of Life, when I started writing The Space Between Words, and I was there alone, and I wrote 136 pages of a book that I then deleted because it wasn't going
Oh
anywhere.
my,
And I'm sitting here, I have 3 weeks to
oh
write. I
my,
have no idea where I'm going to begin. And I wrote to Kathleen Rogers, an author that I know on Facebook only, in the middle of the night. I wrote her from France and say, "Hi, you don't know me, but I'm stuck. Do you have any kind of advice for me?" And she said, give the magic the space it needs to happen. And I stepped back and for 2 or 3 days did nothing, was watching a ridiculous show on YouTube. And Craig Ferguson, the late night comedian at the time, said, the past is the psychoanalysis of the present. And here I was, a stone's throw from where the Paris attack had just happened
mhm,
months before. And I thought, what is the psychoanalysis? What in the past can inform what happened in the present? And here
mhm.
came the Huguenots
And
and French history.
that is the heart of split time right
It
there.
is. It
And that
is.
is why I know for myself, I love this style so much. It's my favorite genre. It's my favorite style because I want to be connected with the past. I want to learn from the past.
Yeah.
I don't want to repeat the past. I want to be
Yep.
educated about the past.
Yep.
And how better to do that in fiction? Because you can read biographies, which are, some are more interesting than others. You can watch historical presentations, but fiction and it being fictionalized, but then
Yeah.
that the truth is
Yeah.
there. Like
Yeah.
I just love that so much.
Truth and magic. I think you've just said the two things
Yeah,
that are most
there
important.
you go. Truth and magic. It's
Yeah.
gotta be truth wrapped in magic.
That's right. You're
And
welcome,
there's-
writers.
yes, that's a secret. Michelle's given us the secret. Whew, I feel less pressure now. Now I know magic.
Good.
And also in bed, snuggled up in bed, like we've kind of, a lot of us have been the last year.
That's
So
right.
we just know, kind of tap into that too a little bit.
But you know what? I want to give a little bit of a pass to the people who might be listening to this who have been trying to write this year. It is proven fact scientifically that people don't have the attention span right now to read more than 3 lines. If you're posting on social media, if it's more
Mhm.
than 3 lines, people won't even look at it. They just don't have the
Well,
bandwidth. So if you think you can write 3 pages, you might be up against that same wall, and it's okay. This will pass. Give the magic the space it needs.
I love that. And that's such a good, because the thing is, if you're stuck in the place, like Michelle just said, she was 3 weeks away from her deadline too, which was not during a pandemic and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Breathe,
Yep.
give the magic and the truth the
Yep.
space.
And write to Kathleen Rogers.
Yes.
Apparently,
And
she's
write to one of your favorite authors at midnight and say, you
that's
don't know
right.
me, but help.
I'm stuck. Yes, exactly.
I love that. And and writer authors, y'all are so gracious about things because I know you have to get random emails from people like, "Teach me how to write," or "What's
I
the
love
secret
it.
to your success?" And we're just like, we're kind of needy
Yeah,
sometimes. Readers
but I love
are,
it.
aspiring writers are.
It just connects me back to, I mean, I've got 5 books published and I still feel the way these newbie writers feel when they write to me. So it's good to know that there are others like us out there. I don't mind those letters at all, or emails.
Well, it's great, and it gives us hope too,
Yeah.
because it's like a pay it forward thing too. I
Yes.
always, if I can help, like I'm a journalist, by my profession is, and so I've been a journalist for over a decade. And when college students want to ask me about journalism profession or writing, and
Yeah.
I always try to give them time and space to answer questions and stuff, and
Yes. Yes.
and so I appreciate all the authors who have answered my question too and continue to. And it's
Yeah.
just it's a great, and I feel like especially in Christian fiction, y'all are so gracious with just everything, and everyone, we all have a common purpose, when writing Christian fiction to
Right.
to uplift the Lord and the kingdom of
Right.
God. And also entertain and inform and everything as well.
Pull
And
on
so
the heartstrings a little bit.
yep, and pull on the heartstrings and
Yeah.
just show the
Yeah.
emotional side and hope and faith. And I think that's really an awesome part. And that this genre is growing so much in Christian
It
fiction. It's
is. Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
And just in the last few years, it's just like everywhere. And some people are like, well, it's everywhere. It's a trend. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. Trends come and go. I'm not throwing it out.
I mean, Christian fiction itself was a trend a few years ago. Like, what's all this Christian fiction coming out? And here it is. It's here to
And
stay.
everyone,
So,
I mean, and then everyone thought it was just Amish. Like I remember back
right.
decades or more ago, it was like, oh, that's just Amish fiction. That's the bonnet fiction. I'm like, no, it's not. It's so much more than that.
Can I just say that one of the covers I rejected for this book looked like Amish fiction? And I was
Oh
pretty sure
wow,
that wasn't
that
what I'd
would have been
written.
completely misleading. I mean,
Yeah.
Amish fiction should look like Amish fiction, which is amazing. There's amazing
It's
Amish
its
fiction
own
authors.
genre. Yes.
Exactly, and it has its own space and its own look, and that is totally fine. Though, oh, I will give a shout out to Leslie Gould because she writes Amish split time.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
Yes,
that.
we now have Amish Christian fiction, Amish
Wow.
full-time fiction.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know. So I'm like, we actually now have a subgenre of we have an Amish fiction split time. Like, okay, cool.
Love
So,
it.
and then we have Jamie Joe that's doing like gothic split time. I'm like, yes, who's next? What else we need in here? So it's just, I just love the genre. Can't tell I love it so much. All right.
Your enthusiasm. Yes, it's
Can't
there.
help it. Well, and my first, what was the first split time fiction? Like, what novel do you remember reading for the first time? That was it
I think
Pat
it was Pat
Conroy?
Conroy. I
Because
think
you
it was him.
mentioned,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be because he wrote. I mean, when would that book? I haven't read
Oh
anything.
my goodness, Pat Conroy's beach music, probably the 80s, 90s, mid
Yeah.
90s. Yeah.
Susanna Kearsley's The Winter Sea was the first split time that I read back in
Okay.
2012. She wrote it.
Okay.
She published it, I think, 2008. But I read it in 2012. That was the first
Yeah.
one, and it's been almost 10 years. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still loving this genre. So I think
And
once
honestly, it might have
you tap into
existed
it,
back in Pat Conroy's time, but I'm not sure they called it split time yet.
no,
You know, that's a more
did.
recent moniker.
They definitely did, and I think a lot of times it was thrown in with flashbacks, like
Yes.
that's fiction with historical flashbacks or
Yes.
lots of flashbacks and stuff.
Right.
Because there are some other ones, like I know Lady Hay. I think I'm trying to think who wrote that. Barbara Erskine, maybe. I think
Hmm.
that was one of the first split time novels, which of
Okay.
course was not called that. That Susanna Kearsley told me that she had ever heard of that she
Huh.
read back, I think in the 80s, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, so the style part like parts of it have been around a long
Yeah.
time, but we're finally able to have enough of it,
Yeah.
gathered up for a genre, I think now
Right.
finally. And of course that genre has many different names: time slip,
Yes.
time jump, parallel time, dual timeline, split time, but that's, we
Yeah.
we know what we're talking about at least
That's
when we
right.
say those novels with more than one timeline that intersect at some point,
Yeah.
to have that emotional impact at the end by the end.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're right at our
Are we
time, but
really? Oh, that
yes,
went
we are
fast.
already. I know it did. It was fun. Do you mind if we ask maybe one more question? Would that be
Oh,
okay?
absolutely. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, because we only had a few left here. But we had so much, and I threw in some extra ones because we was just such a good conversation we were having. Let's see. We can combine these two questions, I guess.
Sure.
Um, what was the most interesting historical information you learned while writing fragments? And then another question is
Mhm.
like, what's your favorite time period to research so far?
Mhm.
Those are like the last questions I would say.
The detail, the historical detail I learned.
Or a
Um,
story.
yeah, I think it was how many on D-Day, how many of the Americans actually fell way off target. Um, like my guy in my book does, like Kel does, and like Tom Rice did. It
So
was
they
such
were parachuting, when they were parachuting in.
the problem was the planes were having to deflect so much flak and so much shots shooting towards the
Mhm.
sky that the planes, some of them were on their way down to crash when the
Oh wow.
paratroopers jumped out of them. Some of them were way off target or way too low. So some of the deaths were actually preventable had they jumped from a normal height in the sky. They might not have crashed into the ground as fast as they did. They didn't have time to deploy their parachutes, some of
Oh
them.
wow.
So the number of deaths attributed to that first day, maybe 48 hours, so many of them, even the landing craft having to be too far offshore that the men's packs were too heavy and they drowned before they could make it onto the beach. Yes, there was horrific shooting and warfare going
Hmm.
on, but a
Hmm.
lot of it was just, this it's war. War is
Yeah.
unpredictable, and as well as they planned, there were so many deaths that were due to circumstances beyond the enemy shooting at them.
That. Oh gosh, that's just heartbreaking. I
Yeah.
mean, I just it. it's hard. And I remember reading that part, reading the scene where he's jumping, he gets stuck and
Hmm.
all that.
Hmm.
I mean, you wrote it so vividly, and I'm sure Tom was like really proud to read it and feel like it was true to his experience
Yeah.
as well as the veterans. But you just read it and you picture all this, and it's just chaos. It's utter chaos, and they
Utter
didn't know
chaos.
what was up, what was down. They
Right.
had to just jump and then just go with it and see what happens. And
And the beauty of having translated for this documentary, the other half of the documentary is interviewing French people who were children at the time when
oh
D-Day happened.
wow,
So you get their perspective on this. How many people found paratroopers hung up in their trees outside their home or
you
found
had
them
to put them
hiding and
down,
took them
yeah.
in? And they say that some of the bundles of stuff that they threw out of the planes before the paratroopers jumped, so it was provisions, it was ammunition, some of those bundles had lights on them, and one lady remembers that the sky, it looked like full daylight because there were so many bundles with lights on
Wow,
them falling from the sky in the middle of the night. It's
that's
just fascinating.
incredible.
Yeah.
That
If
is.
anybody wants to watch The Girl Who Wore Freedom is the name of this documentary. I'm not paid to say this. It
Yeah,
will come out
good.
sometime soon. It's winning all kinds of awards. But it is a beautiful look at the French who saw D-Day happen and the veterans who were there and made D-Day happen and how they
That's
meet
so
each other every year.
amazing. That's so
Yeah,
amazing, Michelle. Send me a link to that and I'll try to
I
put it
will.
in our group. We might can add it in the comments on this
Sure.
video too for later because we have all these videos later for everyone to watch. If they don't have
Hmm.
not able to join us when it's live, but
Okay,
that is so
great.
incredible. I've enjoyed our conversation
It's been
so
fun.
much.
Thank
And I
you.
enjoyed Fragments of Light. I can't wait to read your other books like we talked about before with the Huguenots and me being from Louisiana and my family maybe
Yes.
being Huguenots. I need to look into that.
Yes.
My genealogy, France to Louisiana, so at the right
Yeah.
time period it could be. So I need to read that. But yeah, so and we wish you all the best of luck with your next
Thank
book.
you.
We can't wait to read it and talk about it. And
Can I
we just
add one thing?
please.
I am happy to Zoom or Skype into any book club that does any of my books. I'm happy to come in and join the discussion with them. So if any of your readers or your group members would like to do that, just send me an email, find me on Facebook or on my website, and I'm happy to participate in book clubs.
Well, I'm sure we definitely have some people that have lots of book clubs. I'll try to tag them in this video and say, get Michelle because she's awesome.
You're so sweet.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. And like I said, guys, we're gonna have the giveaway is gonna be going on for a while. So if you want to
Mhm.
comment later, I'll draw the winner sometime. We'll probably do it by tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So just if you comment, if you're late to the party, which I know a lot of things are going on, also, yeah, so it'll be a signed copy of Fragments of Light, and then you can enjoy the story yourself. And I actually listened to the Audible version of the book, the audiobook, and it was really nice too.
Oh,
I love
good.
audiobooks. Yeah,
Good.
it was really good. So, but anyway, thank you so much, Michelle, for
My
writing this
pleasure.
awesome book, joining us this afternoon, and we wish you all the best.
It was fun. Thank you so much for the conversation.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, so thank you so much for joining us once again. It was nice to have a great chat with Michelle. I hope you gleaned some things, you laughed with us and learned a lot. And I hope if you haven't had a chance yet, you'll check out Fragments of Light, whether by audiobook, ebook, or paperback. It's an incredible book that has a lot of the things that we love. It has that deep connection of split time, fiction, and what that brings to the story, the historical accuracy is, I mean, she had a military advisor who was a World War II veteran. It's like right on the money with everything, the experiences and everything. And it was just a real treat to read and deeply atmospheric. So definitely check that out. But I hope everyone has a great Saturday and I'll catch you in the group. Bye guys.